Okay, everybody. So your homework over the weekend was multiplication and division of decimals and whole numbers. So I am going to give you the answer to number one. I think it's pretty straightforward. And then I want you to check your answers to see with what I have. So number one is 1 and 1.2728. Okay, number two. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and set this up for you. So this is 23 and 8/10. I decided to put this number on top because it's 3 numbers long and this first number is only 2 numbers long. Visually, it's just easier for me to multiply. It doesn't really matter what order you do it. If you were to flip it around, you would have to do 3 rows of multiplication rather than 2. So that's why I like to do it this way. Okay, but again, it doesn't matter. Final answer here is 42 and 84 hundredths. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and do number 3. So this is my longer number, so I'm going to go ahead and start there. So 207 and 4/10 multiplied by 0.87. Now, when you set up these problems, you always want to make sure you have your numbers aligned to the right-hand side. Okay, you never want to set this up where it looks like this, right? 0.87. Okay, because then you have all this empty space here. When you do that, then you have to put placeholders, which are zeros. And then when you multiply, now you're doing 4 rows of multiplication to solve this problem. Okay, you're still going to get the same answer, but why complicate your life? Okay, I also did not include this 0 here. Why? The whole number is 0. That's adding no value to this decimal, right? So I just omitted the 0. If I had it in there, I would do another row of multiplication, unless you know not to do it at all because it's a 0, right? Anything multiplied by 0 is 0. Okay? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and solve this. So 4 times 7 is 28. Regroup my tens, my 2 tens. 7 times 7 is 49, plus 2 more is 51. 0 times 7 is 0, plus 1 more is 5. 2 times 7 is 14. Then I'm going to add my placeholder. And then 4 times 8 is 32. Regroup my 3. 7 times 8 is 56, plus 3 more is 59. 0 times 8 is 0, plus 5 more is 5. And then 2 times 8 is 16. And I add 8 plus 0 is 8. 2 plus 1 is 3. 5 plus 9 is 14. Regroup my 1. 5 plus 4 is 9, plus 1 more is 10. Regroup my 1. 6 plus 1 is 7, plus 1 more is 8. And then that's a 1. Now I count all the numbers to the right of all decimals. So I have 1, 2, 3 numbers to the right of all decimals. So I start here and I move it over 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so my final answer is 180 and 438 thousandths. Okay, I'm going to use reasoning here. So number 1, I would always suggest you go through, check your multiplication again. All right, another thing to do is look for reasonableness. Is my answer reasonable? I'm just going to go to compatible numbers or rounding. This is about whole number 200, right? 207, pretty close to 200. This is 87 hundredths. This is almost 9/10ths, right? Think 90% or 87%, okay? That's almost all, right? So what is about 9/10ths of 200, right? That's almost everything. So if I look here at my answer, 180, that is almost 207, right? So that is reasonable. All right, number 4, I'm going to go ahead and set up the problem, and then I'm going to have you solve it. 4, 6, 7, 8 times 5, 6, 2. Now again, I do not have to align my decimal points when I'm multiplying decimals, right? I only worry about the decimal points at the very end. I just have to worry about lining up my decimals so they align to the far right. Okay? All All right, so number 8, your answer, it's a long one, so it's kind of out of the ordinary, but it is 26 and 29036. Okay, so yeah, big number. All right, number 5. I'm going to go ahead and set this up for you. 2, 5, 6, and 2/10 multiplied by 4 and 3/10. Now this one again, the decimal points just happen to be aligned, but all I'm really worried about is that they're aligned to the right side. Okay, final answer, 1,101 and 66/100. Okay, answer number 6. I'll go ahead and do this one. 84 and 63/100 times 27/100. Right, just checking to make sure I wrote my numbers correctly. All right, so here we go. 3 times 7 is 21. Regroup my 2. 6 times 7 is 42, plus 2 more is 44. 4 times 7 is 28, plus 4 more is 32. 8 times 7 is 56, plus 3 more is 59. I'm going to cross those off since I'm done. I'm done with my ones, so I'm going to add my ones placeholder. And I'm going to multiply now all the numbers on top by my tenths. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 more is 9. 8 times 2 is 16. And then I add. 1 plus 0 is 1. 6 plus 4 is 10. 2 plus 2 plus 1 is 5. 9 plus 9 is 18. Regroup by 1. 5 plus 6 is 11. Plus 1 more is 12. 1 plus 1 is 2. Okay. I count all the numbers to the right of all decimals. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Move it over 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. So final answer, 22 and 8,501. Right? Okay. All right, now we're doing division. Again, you guys have to be careful. Some of you guys were doing multiplication when they were division problems and division when they were multiplication problems. So pay attention to your sign. All right, first number goes in the warm house. 6, 4, 3, and 2/10 divided by whole number 12, right? There's no decimal point there, so whole number 12. So I don't have to move anything over, right? I only move decimal points over if I have to get rid of a decimal in my divisor. Because this is a whole number, I do nothing. I do have a decimal point in my dividend in the house. I just have to move it up to the roof. Right? Now I'm done. I don't have to worry about the decimal points anymore. All right, so I'm going to cover this up and I'm going to start doing my math. So 12 doesn't go into 6. Right? I can put an X there or a 0. Doesn't add any value because we're talking whole numbers here, right? To the left of the decimal point. Now, how many times does 12 go into 64? I can estimate if you don't know your 12s, right? This is about 10. How many times does 10 go into, and if I were to round this to 60, 10 goes into 60 6 times. So I'm going to start there and see where I end up. 12, I got to go back to the actual number. 12 times 6, right, is 12. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 more is 7. Okay, too big. This is 72. This number is 64. So I know I can go down by 1. That's 12 times 5, right? I know mental math, that's 60. I'm good to go. So 12 goes into 64 5 times. 12 times 5 is 60. 4 minus 0 is 4, and that's 0. Okay, I'm checking. 4 is smaller than 12. I'm going to bring down my next number. 12, how many times does 12 go into 43? All right, I'm going to look at what I have so far. 12 times 5 is 60. I need a number that's smaller. I think 12 times 4 is going to be too big, so I'm going to try 12 times 3. Yep, 36, right? Okay, so I'm going to do 3. 36. When I subtract, be careful. 3 minus 6 is not 3. You can't take a bigger number away from a smaller number. Okay, so I need to regroup. I have to borrow from the neighbor. That becomes a 3. This becomes 13. 13 minus 6 is 4, 5, 6, 7. 3 minus 3 is nothing. 7 is smaller than 12. I'm good to go. Bring down my last number. How many times does 12 go into 72? If I looked at my hard work I've already done, I see I already have my answer, right? Okay, so it's 12 times 6, which is 72. Now I have 0 remainder, so I'm done, right? I would have had to add a 0 here if I had a remainder, right? And then I would have had to bring my 0 down. But because I have no remainder, that is my final answer, right? 53 and 6/10. Okay? All right. Number 8 is... well,